In the chill of deep space, where the stars glinted like distant fireflies against the void, humanity first met its interstellar counterpart. It was not a peaceful envoy or a curious scientific delegation that came calling. It was a fleet, vast and formidable, cutting through the vacuum with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. The varasi, a species with scales that shimmered like polished armor under their ship's lights, had arrived. Captain Jonas Clark had never believed he would witness such a moment. He stood tall on the observation deck of the Guardian, Earth's premier orbital defense platform, his hands clasped behind his back and his eyes fixed on the holographic displays that flickered with incoming data. The varasi ships, sleek and jagged, hung in orbit like a sword over the planet. Their demands were simple and absolute. Earth must surrender, relinquish its sovereignty, and become a subservient colony under the varasi hegemony. The Guardian was abuzz with activity. Officers and crewmen rushed about relaying orders and reports, while the defensive batteries were primed and shields powered to maximum. Jonas's heart raced, not with fear, but with a commander's adrenaline, knowing each decision might tip the precarious balance of what was to come. Communication with the alien fleet had been unexpectedly clear. The varasi spoke through a device that rendered their hissing, sibilant language into crisp English. The alien commander, a creature named Slar, projected an air of imperious certainty. "You are outmatched and outdated." Slar's voice boomed through the speakers, his reptilian face appearing on a screen before Jonas. "Resistance will result only in your unnecessary suffering." Jonas responded with a calm he barely felt. "Earth is sovereign. We're prepared to defend our home." He knew his words were being broadcast across the planet, where billions watched, waited, and worried. The standoff continued, with the varasi fleet making slow, menacing advances closer to Earth's atmosphere. Each ship was a masterpiece of technology, bristling with weapons that could easily obliterate the planet's defenses. Yet, as the hours passed, no shots were fired. It seemed Slar was content to let the threat of annihilation pressure Earth into compliance. Below on the surface, the United Earth government convened in emergency sessions. Political leaders, military heads, and scientific advisors debated their grim options. Dr. Harold Hal Jennings, a leading figure in quantum technology, proposed a radical course of action. He spoke not of weapons that could destroy, but of a device that could disable. The Pandora device, a creation born from the desperate hope of turning the tide, was untested, but promised to disrupt advanced technology. Jonas knew of Hal and his eccentric genius. When the proposal reached the Guardian, relayed through urgent, secure channels, he felt a flicker of uncertainty. Could such a device truly shift the balance, or was it merely a gamble with the fate of billions? With the decision made to prepare the Pandora device, Earth's military strategized to buy time. Jonas issued orders for feints and defensive maneuvers, small sorties by the fleet's fastest ships to probe the varasi's responses. Each move was a calculated risk, designed not to provoke but to analyze the enemy's tactics and capabilities. Meanwhile, on Earth, Hal and his team worked feverishly. The Pandora device was their brainchild, a tool that could emit a quantum pulse strong enough to infiltrate and scramble alien technology. The science was sound, Hal assured, based on principles of quantum entanglement and electromagnetic disruption. Yet, the practical application on such a scale was unprecedented. As the varasi issued their final ultimatum, the atmosphere aboard the Guardian grew taut as a drawn bowstring. Jonas communicated with Hal, whose voice crackled with static over the transmission. "We're almost ready," Hal said, a trace of fatigue lining his words. "Just a bit more time." Time, however, was the one thing they might not have. Jonas watched the alien ships align into an attack formation. The moment of truth was upon them, not just for Jonas or Hal, but for all of humanity. Whatever the outcome, Earth would never be the same. With the varasi's deadline looming, the United Earth government convened in a fortified underground bunker. It was a gathering marked by urgency and tension, bringing together the world's leaders, military strategists, and scientific advisors in a desperate bid to forge a cohesive response. The air was thick with the weight of impending decisions, as representatives from every continent sat at a large circular table, each one aware that their choices could determine the fate of humanity. President Amelia Vasquez, serving as the head of the assembly, opened the session. "We've heard from Captain Clark and Dr. Jennings," she began, her voice steady despite the circumstances. Our military options are limited. The Varasi technology surpasses ours significantly. However, Dr. Jennings's Pandora device offers a potential solution, one that could neutralize the alien threat without massive loss of life. Murmurs filled the room, reflecting a mix of skepticism and hope. The device was experimental, and many were wary of staking everything on an unproven technology. General Li Chen, the head of Earth's combined military forces, voiced his concerns. "We risk much on this Pandora device. What if it fails? We should be preparing for a ground defense, ensuring our cities are protected." Dr. Hal Jennings, brought in to explain his invention, stood. His appearance was disheveled, the result of countless sleepless hours spent refining his work. The Pandora device operates on a principle of quantum disruption. It's designed to emit a pulse that specifically targets and disables advanced technology. It's true it's untested on this scale, but the simulations are promising. The Russian delegate, Minister Ivanov, leaned forward. "And if this device fails, we have provoked the Varasi further. We must consider the consequences. Are there assurances, Dr. Jennings, that this will work as intended?" Hal met his gaze, his eyes weary yet resolute. "There are no absolute assurances in science. However, the risks of not acting are even greater. If we do nothing, or if we attempt to fight with conventional weapons, we face certain defeat." A new voice joined the conversation, that of Dr. Nia Patel, a renowned physicist. "I've reviewed Dr. Jennings' data. The theoretical foundation is solid. The risks are significant, but so are the potential rewards. This may be our only viable chance to counter a technologically superior opponent." The discussion went back and forth with arguments for and against the device's deployment. Amidst the debate, satellite feeds showed the Varasi fleet repositioning, a silent reminder of the pressure under which these decisions were being made. Finally, it was President Vasquez who called for a vote. The result was clear. Earth would deploy the Pandora device. As the assembly adjourned, Hal returned to his lab to make the final preparations. He was joined by his team of scientists and engineers, all driven by a palpable sense of urgency. Every calibration had to be perfect. The margin for error was virtually non-existent. Meanwhile, military forces worldwide were put on high alert. Cities braced for possible attack, shelters were prepared, and air defenses were placed on standby. Above all this, Captain Clark coordinated with space-based units to prepare for what might be humanity's first and last line of defense. Back in orbit, the Guardian stood ready, a silent sentinel over Earth. Jonas Clark watched the alien ships, their menacing forms a stark contrast against the beauty of Earth below. He knew that everything hinged on the success of the Pandora device. In his cabin, he kept a picture of his family, a reminder of what he was fighting for. The tension was palpable, the stakes impossibly high. Earth waited in a collective breath hold, preparing for whatever came next. As the final hours ticked down, Hal transmitted his message to the Guardian. "We're ready." The Pandora device was armed, and humanity's gambit was set to unfold. As Earth braced for the inevitable, Captain Jonas Clark oversaw the final preparations aboard the Guardian. The crew, a mixture of seasoned veterans and young recruits, worked with a quiet intensity, their faces set with determination. They knew that the upcoming battle could very well dictate the future of humanity. Jonas communicated directly with Dr. Hal Jennings, who was stationed in a secure facility on Earth's surface. "Hal, are you sure this thing will work when we need it to?" he asked, his voice betraying a hint of doubt amidst the resolve. "We've done everything we can, Jonas." Hal's voice crackled over the comlink. "The device is as ready as it'll ever be. Remember, you'll only have one shot with it. Make sure you're in the right position." "Understood," Jonas replied, turning his attention to the tactical display. The Varasi fleet had begun to advance, their ships slicing through space with eerie silence. Each vessel was armed to the teeth, far superior to anything Earth had mustered before. In a strategic move, Jonas deployed a squadron of fighters, the best pilots Earth had to offer, to engage the enemy and test their defenses. Among them was Lieutenant Mia Sato, known among her peers for her uncanny ability to navigate through the most perilous situations. As the fighters approached the Varasi ships, a barrage of energy pulses greeted them, lighting up the void with deadly precision. Mia dodged and weaved through the onslaught, her ship's agility just enough to keep her one step ahead of destruction. She managed to get close enough to launch a volley of return fire, which harmlessly bounced off the Varasi shields. It was clear. Conventional weapons were ineffective. Back on the Guardian, Jonas observed the skirmish with growing concern. The fighters were outmatched, but they provided valuable data on the Varasi tactics and capabilities. "Pull them back," he ordered, not willing to sacrifice lives needlessly. The squadron retreated, though not without loss. Several ships didn't make it back. With the data collected, Hal fine-tuned the Pandora device. "We've identified the frequency that seems most prevalent in their shield technology," he explained to Jonas. "When you activate the Pandora device, it'll emit a quantum pulse targeted specifically at disrupting that frequency." The moment of truth was approaching fast. As the Varasi fleet prepared for a more aggressive assault, Earth's defenses rallied for what might be their final stand. Jonas coordinated with ground-based missile silos and orbital platforms, setting up a defensive grid that would hopefully hold long enough for the Pandora device to be deployed effectively. Then, without warning, the Varasi launched a massive bombardment towards Earth. The skies lit up as defensive systems engaged the incoming fire, a symphony of chaos and destruction playing out over the planet. Jonas watched in grim silence, knowing that every explosion in the upper atmosphere was a potential catastrophe avoided on the surface. As the bombardment intensified, Jonas gave the order. "Deploy the Pandora device now, Hal. It's now or never." "On it," Hal responded. Seconds felt like hours as the device was activated, a deep hum vibrating through the Guardian as it gathered energy. Then, with a burst of light that seemed to bend the very fabric of space, the device unleashed its quantum pulse. The effect was instantaneous and dramatic. Across the Varasi fleet, ships faltered, their shields flickered and died, weapon systems went offline, and for a moment the aliens were rendered utterly defenseless. "Hit them now!" Jonas barked the order, and Earth's forces responded with everything they had. Missiles and laser fire that had been futile before now found their marks. Varasi ships started to explode in spectacular fashion. Their advanced technology turned into a liability under the disabling effects of the Pandora device. But Jonas knew the window of opportunity would be brief. "Keep the pressure up," he urged. "We might not get a second chance at this." Earth's defenders rallied, spurred by the sudden turn of events. For the first time since the arrival of the Varasi, humanity was not just surviving, it was fighting back. In the aftermath of the Pandora device's initial success, a temporary chaos engulfed the Varasi fleet. Their once formidable ships now drifted helplessly in space, crippled by the quantum pulse that had infiltrated and disrupted their systems. On the Guardian, Captain Jonas Clark seized the moment, issuing rapid-fire orders to maximize the impact of their advantage. "Coordinate with all units, push forward while they're down," Jonas commanded, his voice a beacon of leadership in the critical hour. Earth's forces, bolstered by the unexpected turn of events, launched a coordinated assault, targeting the most vulnerable sections of the alien fleet. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Harold Hal Jennings monitored the effects of the Pandora device with a mixture of relief and intense concentration. The device had worked, but the scientist in him knew that the Varasi would not be stunned for long. "We need to prepare for their recovery. They'll adapt if given time," Hal warned, already thinking steps ahead. Back in the battle, the human forces were making significant headway. The Varasi, caught off guard and unable to activate their primary defense systems, suffered heavy losses. Lieutenant Miyasato, leading a daring squadron of fighters, maneuvered through the debris of fallen enemies, targeting key ships that seemed to be rallying points for a regrouping effort. However, as the initial shock wore off, the Varasi began to regain some control over their ships. Panic gave way to cold, calculated retaliation as they rerouted power and bypassed damaged systems. Eslar, the Varasi commander, managed to restore partial functionality to his flagship. His voice, once again booming through the communication channels, was tinged with fury. "You dare to defy the might of the Varasi? This affront will not be tolerated. Prepare for annihilation." Knowing that time was running out, Jonas made a critical decision. "Hal, we need another pulse. Can the Pandora device handle a second discharge?" "It wasn't designed for rapid reuse," Hal replied anxiously. "I can try to recalibrate it for another burst, but it's risky. The core could destabilize." "Do it," Jonas ordered. "It's our only chance to keep them down." As Hal worked feverishly to modify the Pandora device for another use, Jonas directed the human forces to maintain pressure. Every second counted, and the battle's tide rested on the slender hope of Hal's success. The Varasi, realizing the source of their woes, redirected their remaining operational weapons towards the Guardian. A barrage of firepower, more desperate and less coordinated than before, hailed down on the human flagship. "Brace for impact," Jonas alerted his crew as the ship shuddered under the assault. Alarms blared and screens flickered as the Guardian's shields absorbed the brunt of the attack. Damage reports streamed in, but the ship held firm, a testament to human engineering and resolve. With no time to spare, Hal managed to jury-rig the Pandora device for a second pulse. "Ready, Jonas, firing in 3, 2, 1. Another burst of quantum energy surged from the Guardian, less potent but still effective enough to send a new wave of disruption through the Varasi fleet. Once more their ships faltered, their brief resurgence cut short as critical systems failed anew. Seizing the critical window, Earth's forces launched a final, devastating offensive. Missiles and energy beams, guided by the desperate hope of billions, struck true, and one by one, Varasi ships began to break apart under the onslaught. In the silence that followed the storm, the remaining Varasi ships, crippled and leaderless, ceased their attack. Commander Slar, his flagship disabled and adrift, transmitted a grudging message of ceasefire. "This conflict has reached its zenith. Let there be parley before more lives are lost." Jonas, breathing heavily from the strain of command, accepted the ceasefire with a nod. The battle was over, for now. Humanity had stood on the brink of annihilation and had not only survived but triumphed. Yet the victory was not without its costs, and the road ahead promised to be fraught with diplomacy as delicate as the warfare had been brutal. After the successful deployment of the Pandora device for a second time, the Varasi fleet was left scattered and disoriented. The remaining ships were either too damaged to fight, or too disconnected from the command structure to pose any organized threat. This gave Earth the chance to not only solidify its defenses, but to plan a counterstrike that would ensure the Varasi could not regroup. Captain Jonas Clark, aboard the Guardian, and his counterparts on Earth quickly organized a strategy meeting. The goal was clear: capitalize on the momentary advantage and deliver a blow that would deter any thoughts of a renewed Varasi assault. "Let's push them back while we have the chance," Jonas declared, reviewing the holographic map dotted with the positions of the remaining alien ships. "We'll target their flagship first. Without their command ship, their operational capability will be severely hampered." Dr. Harold "Hal" Jennings, meanwhile, was busy assessing the stability of the Pandora device. It had performed beyond expectations, but the strain on its core components was significant. "Jonas, I'm not sure how many more pulses we can safely emit. The device needs a thorough overhaul," Hal communicated with a concerned tone. "Understood, Hal. Let's hope we won't need another pulse. Prepare your team for a debrief later. Right now, we need every ship and pilot ready for a direct assault," Jonas replied, shifting his focus back to tactical operations. Lieutenant Miyasato was tasked with leading the offensive squadron. Known for her fearless piloting and sharp tactical mind, Mia was the ideal candidate to spearhead the critical mission. "This is our chance to turn the tide permanently," she said to her team as they prepared their fighters. "We've got them on the ropes. Let's not give them a moment to breathe." As the human forces regrouped and launched towards the crippled Varasi flagship, the aliens scrambled to mount a defense. Their communications were erratic, their formations broken. Earth's pilots took advantage of every gap, every moment of hesitation shown by their foes. The battle was intense, with Mia and her squadron weaving through debris and return fire. Every move was calculated, every risk measured against the backdrop of Earth's survival. They managed to penetrate the perimeter defenses and targeted the flagship's main reactors. Back on Earth, Hal and his team watched the battle unfold through real-time feeds. "Keep your eyes on the energy readings from the flagship," Hal instructed his team. "We need to know the moment their core goes critical." The counterstrike proved successful. The combined assault of Earth's fighters resulted in critical hits that disabled the Varasi flagship's primary power systems. Without its flagship, the alien fleet's remaining vessels fell into disarray, their attempts to organize a counteroffensive failing miserably. With the flagship disabled and the morale of the Varasi broken, the humans pressed their advantage, clearing the remnants of the alien armada from near-Earth space. The Varasi, realizing their defeat was imminent, began to retreat, their ships limping away into the dark vastness of space. On the Guardian, Jonas allowed himself a brief moment of relief. "Good work, everyone. Let's secure the area and start rescue and recovery operations. We need to be thorough. "We can't afford any surprises," he ordered, his voice echoing through the ship's communication system. The victory was significant, but not without cost. The human forces had suffered casualties, and the damage to both the Guardian and Earth's orbital infrastructure was considerable. The path ahead would require rebuilding and vigilance, but for now, Earth had repelled an alien invasion, proving that humanity would not fall easily or without a fight. As the dust settled and the adrenaline of battle gave way to exhaustion, Jonas and his crew turned their thoughts to the future. The Varasi had been pushed back, but the universe was vast, and other threats could lurk in the shadows. Humanity, however, had demonstrated its resilience and its willingness to defend its home against any threat, near or far. This battle was over, but the journey of vigilance and preparation was just beginning. The final contest was set to test endurance, arguably the most grueling of all the events. The challenge was a long-distance race across a rugged artificial terrain that mimicked the harsh environments found on various planets throughout the galaxy. The course included steep inclines, treacherous descents, thick mud patches, and sections of loose, shifting stones, designed to push the competitors to their absolute limits. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the arena, Marcus and the remaining competitors lined up at the starting line. The mood was tense but respectful, each competitor mentally preparing for the arduous journey ahead. Marcus, enclosed in the Aegis armor, ran diagnostics one last time, ensuring all systems were at optimal levels. The endurance race wasn't just a physical test, but a battle of willpower and resilience. The starting signal sounded and the racers burst forward. Marcus felt the Aegis respond instantly, its systems perfectly attuned to his body's needs. The first section of the course, with its steep inclines, proved tough, but the Aegis's power-assisted limbs propelled him upwards, allowing him to conserve energy while maintaining a strong pace. Around him, the Golraxi competitors used their natural strength to climb, their powerful muscles bulging with effort. They were formidable, their stamina evident as they pushed through the physical challenges. However, Marcus could see the strain on their faces. Their massive bodies were not built for long-term endurance. The descent was perilous, with loose gravel and sudden drops. Marcus used the Aegis's enhanced balance control to navigate the treacherous terrain smoothly. He watched as one of the Golraxi slipped, catching himself but losing precious time. Marcus paused for a moment to ensure the competitor was unhurt before continuing, a small gesture of sportsmanship that was noted by the onlookers. As the race progressed, the mud patches proved to be the great equalizer. Marcus's initial lead diminished as the thick mud clung to the Aegis, weighing it down. The Golraxi, with their larger surface area and heavy limbs, trudged through with surprising efficacy, their natural physiology giving them an unexpected advantage in this terrain. Realizing he needed to adapt his strategy, Marcus activated the Aegis's thermal systems to slightly heat the armor, loosening the mud's grip. It was a risky move, drawing heavily on the suit's power reserves, but it paid off. Freed from the mud, he regained his pace, catching up to the leaders. The final stretch was a flat sprint, the end in sight but still agonizingly distant. Marcus pushed the Aegis to its limits, the suit's energy core humming loudly as it neared depletion. Beside him, Xanthrul matched his pace, the two leaders pushing each other, their earlier camaraderie giving way to fierce competition. As they neared the finish line, Marcus felt the Aegis's energy levels dip critically low. With one final burst of speed, powered by sheer human determination and the last reserves of the suit's power, Marcus crossed the finish line, just seconds ahead of Xanthrul. Exhausted but elated, Marcus collapsed at the finish line, the Aegis powering down to conserve its remaining energy. The crowd, both human and Golraxi, erupted into applause, recognizing not only the physical achievements, but the spirit of determination and resilience displayed by all competitors. Xanthrul approached Marcus, helping him to his feet. "Your endurance is commendable, human. Today you have shown that it is not the size of the body, but the strength of the heart that truly counts." As they stood side by side, breathing heavily, Marcus realized that the day's events had done more than demonstrate human capabilities. They had fostered a mutual respect between two very different species, paving the way for a future of cooperation and shared exploration. The endurance test had proven that humans could not only compete, but could lead and inspire, even among the stars. 3 months had passed since Earth's decisive stand against the Varasi fleet. The planet had been a hive of activity, with every nation contributing to a newly fortified global defense system. The Pandora device had been refined and replicated under Dr. Harold Hal Jennings's guidance, promising a powerful deterrent against future threats. Meanwhile, diplomatic relations with the Varasi had slowly, albeit awkwardly, begun to evolve from hostile standoffs to cautious dialogue. Captain Jonas Clark, now overseeing Earth's United Space Fleet, had barely taken a moment to rest. From training new recruits to coordinating defense upgrades, his days were filled with relentless preparation. The memories of the last battle served as a constant reminder of what was at stake. Without warning, the alarms blared throughout the Guardian Command Center. "Incoming warp signatures detected," shouted a sensor officer. The data streaming in was unmistakable. The Varasi were returning, this time with a fleet twice the size of the first. Jonas clenched his fists, his mind racing. "All units, battle stations, prepare to deploy Pandora devices on my mark," he commanded, his voice echoing through the ship. On Earth, Hal watched the live feed from his laboratory, his brow furrowed in concern. "They've come back stronger. It seems they've developed some sort of countermeasure against the Pandora device," he muttered, analyzing the incoming data on the Varasi ship's new configurations. As the alien fleet approached, it became evident that they had indeed adapted. The ships now sported advanced shielding technology that seemed impervious to the quantum pulses that had once crippled them. "They're learning and adapting. We need to do the same," Hal relayed to Jonas. In space, the human fleet engaged the Varasi with renewed vigor, but the improved alien technology proved formidable. Despite their best efforts, Earth's ships struggled to penetrate the Varasi shields. "We need a new plan, and fast," Jonas exclaimed, dodging a barrage of energy blasts. Hal, back on Earth, was already working on a modification to the Pandora device. "I'm retuning the pulse frequency to bypass their new shields. Give me a few minutes," he communicated, his fingers flying over the controls. Lieutenant Miyasato, leading a squadron in the thick of the battle, maneuvered her ship with precision, narrowly avoiding enemy fire. "Hang in there, everyone. Help is on the way," she encouraged her team, her ship rocking from the impact of near misses. Back on the Guardian, Jonas received the update from Hal. "New settings uploaded. Deploy now." Hal's voice was tense but hopeful. Jonas didn't hesitate. "Deploy the modified Pandora devices now," he ordered. Across the battlefield, Earth ships activated the updated devices, sending out a new wave of quantum pulses specifically tailored to disrupt the Varasi's updated technology. The effect was immediate. The Varasi shields flickered and failed, sowing confusion and chaos once again within their ranks. Seizing the opportunity, Earth's forces launched a counteroffensive, targeting the now vulnerable ships with everything they had. As the battle raged, Jonas took a moment to appreciate the resilience and ingenuity of his crew and the people back on Earth. Together, they had turned the tide once again, proving that humanity would not be easily defeated. The battle ended with the Varasi retreating once more, their numbers significantly diminished. This time, however, Jonas knew that a lasting peace would require more than just military might. "Prepare to open communications with the Varasi command," he ordered, determined to forge a ceasefire that could lead to a more permanent resolution. On Earth and in space, the day was celebrated as a testament to human courage and ingenuity. But more than that, it was a reminder of the need for vigilance and the importance of continued innovation and unity in the face of interstellar challenges. Jonas, Hal, and Mia knew that this victory was just another step in a long journey that lay ahead for humanity in the cosmos. With the Varasi fleet retreating once more, Captain Jonas Clark knew that Earth could not simply wait for the next attack. It was crucial to take decisive action to ensure long-term security. Working closely with Dr. Harold Hal Jennings and other leaders, they formulated a bold plan not only to defend Earth, but to strike at the heart of the Varasi's operational capability. Jonas convened a high-stakes meeting aboard the Guardian with Earth's top military and scientific minds. "We have the upper hand for now," he started, his voice steady and commanding. "But we need a permanent solution. Hal believes we can use the Pandora device not just defensively, but as a tool to infiltrate and control Varasi technology." Hal stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. "We've learned enough from the captured Varasi tech to understand their systems better," he explained. "I propose we modify the Pandora device to not only disable their ships but to take control of them, turning their own technology against them." The room buzzed with a mixture of excitement and skepticism. Lieutenant Miyasato, ever the tactician, raised a concern. "It's risky. If we fail, we could provoke an even greater retaliation." Jonas nodded in agreement. "It's a risk, but one we must consider. This could end the threat once and for all. We strike directly at their fleet, using their own ships as leverage." The plan was set into motion. The modified Pandora device, now capable of hijacking Varasi systems, was to be installed on a small elite fleet of Earth's best ships, including Mia's squadron. The Guardian would cover their approach as they made a daring run into Varasi space. As the fleet prepared, tensions were high. Every crew member understood the gravity of the mission. They were not just fighting for Earth anymore, but for a chance to secure peace in their corner of the galaxy. The journey to the Varasi stronghold was fraught with danger. Stealth technology cloaked their approach as they navigated through asteroid fields and past early warning satellites. Finally, they reached their target, the main Varasi command ship, a colossal vessel that coordinated the fleet operations. Mia led her team with precision, dodging advanced sensor arrays and disabling external defenses. "We're in position," she reported, her voice calm but intense. "Now, Hal," Jonas ordered. From Earth, Hal activated the modified Pandora device. A surge of quantum energy streamed across space, interfacing with the Varasi command ship. The tense moments that followed felt like hours. Then, success. The ship's systems responded, acknowledging external commands from Earth. Jonas gave the command, and under Hal's guidance, the hijacked Varasi ship turned its weapons against its own fleet. The confusion and chaos within the alien ranks were palpable, even through the cold void of space. The gamble had paid off. With the Varasi fleet in disarray and significant parts of it neutralized by their own command ship, the aliens had no choice but to sue for peace. Jonas initiated communications, offering terms that were firm but fair. The Varasi, recognizing their defeat and the futility of further conflict, agreed to cease hostilities and negotiate a formal treaty. The victory was monumental. Earth had not only defended itself against a superior force, but had turned the tide through ingenuity and brave strategy. As the news of the successful mission spread, celebrations erupted across the world. Humanity had secured its place in the stars, not as conquerors but as clever survivors willing to fight for their right to exist. Back aboard the Guardian, Jonas, Mia, and Hal shared a quiet moment. "We did it," Mia said, relief and pride evident in her tone. "We did," Jonas agreed, looking out into space. "But let's be ready for whatever comes next. This galaxy has more to show us, and we must be prepared." The universe was vast, and challenges abounded, but for now, Earth could breathe easier, its future a little more secure in the cosmos. Following the unprecedented victory and the successful negotiation of peace with the Varasi, Earth entered a new era of reconstruction and diplomatic expansion. The alien threat had receded, but the lessons of the conflict were not lost on humanity. Captain Jonas Clark, now celebrated as a key figure in Earth's defense, was at the forefront of forging a new path forward. The treaty with the Varasi was comprehensive. It included terms for disarmament, technology sharing, and even a mutual aid agreement should either civilization face threats from other aggressive species. It was a testament to the possibility of turning erstwhile enemies into allies under the right conditions. On Earth, reconstruction efforts were paired with a massive technological advancement initiative, spurred by the reverse engineering of Varasi technology. Dr. Harold Hal Jennings led a new scientific advisory board, dedicated to integrating alien technology with human systems safely and ethically. His work, once focused solely on defense, now branched into improving life on Earth and exploring space further. Lieutenant Miyasato took up a position as an instructor at the newly established Interstellar Flight Academy. Here she shared her extensive combat experience and knowledge of alien tactics with the next generation of pilots. "We must be ready, always," Mia often told her students, emphasizing preparedness as the cornerstone of peace. The global sentiment had shifted. Where once there was fear and division, now there was a burgeoning sense of unity and purpose. The United Earth government, strengthened by its handling of the crisis, worked to ensure that no single nation would wield disproportionate power over the newly acquired technologies. It was a delicate balance, maintained by transparency and the shared memory of what had nearly been lost. Internationally, Earth's diplomatic corps was busier than ever. Ambassadors were not only sent to the Varasi worlds but also reached out to other civilizations, making the case for Earth as a responsible and capable member of the galactic community. The discovery of the Varkasi's plight and Earth's role in addressing it had opened many doors previously closed, as distant worlds viewed humanity with newfound respect and curiosity. However, the path to a peaceful and prosperous future was not without its hurdles. Skepticism and fear lingered in some quarters, both on Earth and among the Varkasi. Hardliners on both sides occasionally stirred trouble, protesting the rapid changes and the sharing of power and knowledge. It fell to Jonas and his peers to navigate these turbulent waters, promoting understanding over suspicion. Jonas often found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. From the brink of annihilation to a leader in galactic diplomacy, Earth had transformed under pressure into a diamond. "We were forged in fire," he mused during a commemoration ceremony, "and came out stronger, not just in arms but in spirit." As peace took root, Earth began sending its first long-range exploration missions into the deeper cosmos, manned by international crews. These missions, emblematic of Earth's new role, sought not just new worlds and resources but also potential new allies and members of a growing interstellar federation. The aftermath of the conflict with the Varkasi thus became a prologue to a broader narrative for humanity. Under the watchful eyes of Jonas, Hal, Mia, and countless others dedicated to the cause, Earth continued to strive not just for survival but for a meaningful place on the cosmic stage. For Jonas, the peace they had achieved was just the beginning. The true challenge lay in sustaining it and growing from it, ensuring that future generations would look back not just with pride at what had been overcome, but also with gratitude for the path that had been paved.